when you're on a freeway driving your car and you change lanes, sometimes people will honk at you even though you didn't do it dangerously. There's a feeling of, hey, everybody stay in their lane and keep the status quo. I think that's one of the reasons that people stay poor. I think it's one of the reasons people are in relationships that they shouldn't be in. I think it's one of the reasons people live unhealthy lives is because they're staying in their lane. And what they don't realize, if you just get over and somebody honks at you, the good news is you're in a different lane now. And do it again, and now you're in an even different lane. They're only going to honk at you for a few minutes.
Okay, so what do you do if those people are your closest friends or your parents or your wife, potentially? Yeah. What do you do in that situation where the people that are honking are saying, like, dude, get back in your lane?
Yeah, you don't. You keep going into the lane.
Is there a time where you do, though? Is there a time where, those people are actually a voice of reason?
If you are delusional.
Yeah.
If I woke up and if I called you or we saw each other at the gym, Alex works out at the same gym I do, and you say, Don, looks like you're getting into good shape. And I say, yeah, I actually want to be a linebacker in the NFL. I think you're about 25 years too old to actually accomplish that.
That's the only issue, though. It's just that you're talking
that. We're good. But yes, you do want to be called on delusional fantasies. But, I'm somebody who has just always had a really great ambition. When I was in high school, I wrote down on a piece of paper, I want to be a multimillionaire. I want to be a New York Times bestselling author. I want to be this. In high school, people would have said, this is crazy. You don't even make good grades, But you sort of test that stuff and you move into it and you say, is this okay? Is this okay to go here? A lot of people will say no, but you have to push through that resistance and you make it happen. And the more you can understand that, one, they like the status quo. They like the power structure the way it is because they're comfortable. And you are disrupting the power structure in your community. You just need to, as kindly as possible, give them time to get used to it because you are not going to settle. And I think that's been key for me.
Boy, that's about as past surface level as you can get.
Well, the key is as kindly as possible.
But I'm going this way. I'll do it kindly.
And I will not take your criticism personally. But I'm going to. This is going to happen. Now, I have lost friendships over this. There were friendships that I had early on. I'm thinking of 2 or 3 relationships where it was sort of a mentor-mentee relationship. And as I became a little more successful, that didn't feel like the same relationship. It felt like, actually, I think you might have something to learn from me now. And it was very clear in those relationships that they were not in it for that reason. They were in it because it actually made them feel kind of powerful to be a teacher of mine.
Of Donald Miller.
That's right. And it's not that we passed each other up, it's just that I no longer needed that advice or see that advice as super helpful. We can still be friends. But
you could have done that in a very hostile way, though.
We could have, yeah. But in the end, the agreement that they had made with the world was, I'm the leader, you're the follower. And when I became more of the leader, those relationships needed to be redefined. And in that redefinition, the agreement was no longer there, and they bowed out. Now, none of that happened formally.
Yeah.
But that's certainly the way that it felt.
Okay, so I look at your bio, and I think this guy's written multiple best-selling books. Blue Like Jazz sold over 1 million copies. Now he owns a $10 million company. He was on something called a presidential task force, which I didn't even know was a thing. But the list of things you've done is remarkable. And then I hear you say, as a high schooler, I wrote down that I was going to do X, Y, Z. Do you look back at that high school list and say, that is one of the reasons why is because I cast a vision? Or did you even remember that whenever you were doing all this? How did all that play in?
I remember it really well. There was here's what happened to me. My mom found some machine somewhere where you could type in a name and it would print a certificate telling you what that name means. So at 5 or 6 years old, she typed in Donald Lewis Miller into some machine somewhere. I don't know where she got this thing. And it printed out the certificate that said what your name means. And my name meant fearless leader. Now, I'm absolutely convinced that somebody just made that up. Fearless leader. If your name is Kate Jones, you probably got fearless leader also. It was just a random
fortune cookie.
That's right, a fortune cookie. My mother framed that and hung it in my room. And I remember, this hung in my room for 10 years.
That's pretty powerful.
It was very powerful. And I remember reading it and just being terrified. So I'm reading that I am a fearless leader in my. So obviously, it should occur to me that this is not a correct assessment of what who might. But I was convinced from a very early age, this is what you have to do. You literally have to become.
Otherwise, you're not Donald Miller anymore.
Otherwise, you have not lived up to your name, and this is telling you who you are.
So you were reading it as an expectation.
Reading it as an expectation, and so this idea of this all, writing business books or becoming a business leader, all those things, subconsciously, I think my mind always just said, well, that's who you are, and this is what the world needs from you. And so perhaps I was tricked into a successful life. I don't know.
Thanks, Mom.
Yeah. Well, honestly, thank you very much, because it's been really wonderful. But I think from an early age, there was this expectation of, no, let's go out and serve people and have an impact in some possible way.